Craig Koshaw's absent. Bill Carbach?
Here.
Ken Meyer?
Here. Bill, you were emailed a copy of the minutes from our June 19th meeting. Did you have a chance to look at those?
Yep, make a motion to accept as email.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes have been approved. Okay, the very first thing that needs to be this public hearing. It was advertised for 6, right? Okay, the first thing we have this evening then is a public hearing in reference to the sale of the former Decatur Casting property on Dayton Avenue, so I need a motion to suspend.
Suspend the Board of Works meeting. It was open public hearing.
Is that a motion?
So moved, yeah.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Okay, then I need a motion to open a public hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second that. Barb, let me know if you can't keep up. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're in a public hearing in reference to the sale of former Decatur casting site. We've had a little bit of interest in that property, and before we can proceed to have it appraised, it's required that we have this public hearing, and then as a result of this public hearing, then we would want to make the recommendation to the City Council to do the same. And just to kind of clarify things, Tim, the email you sent me about, right now the Decatur casting site, that parcel of land has a cell tower on it. And the cell tower is on that parcel of land, however, it is not owned by the city. It's owned by another company. It was owned by the people that owned the casting company, and they sold it back when we went through all the acquisition with the county. It was sold to us for $90,000. They paid the county $30,000. Then they paid the city $60,000. That goes back to like 2008, if I recall. And then
It wasn't sold, it was leased.
Leased.
And they
Okay.
obtained a perpetual lease agreement for the tower.
Okay. And in the meantime, we want to have this all appraised, so Tim has suggested that we get both parcels, even though it's all one parcel, to have the cell tower fenced-in area appraised, and then the casting company appraised separately, so that if we would want to sell the casting site, it would be aside from the property that the tower's on. And then that site, then, did you continue to say something about contacting that company?
Yeah,
long term?
the lease agreement also says that if the easement area where the cell tower is located is sold either separately or as part of the remainder of the casting site, they have a first right of refusal, they being the owner of the easement. So what I suggested to the mayor was, let's parcel that out, get an appraisal on that, get an appraisal on this. If we can get the property sold on this, it avoids dealing with the first right of refusal. We can sell this a lot easier because we don't have to go through them first. And secondly, I doubt very seriously somebody's going to want to buy property that they can't use. So I think we need to parcel that out.
Right.
Then, if we want, we can go to the holder of the easement to see if they want to buy the ground. I can't imagine it's going to appraise for much, frankly, because they're the only one that has the right to use it. And to be honest, if they don't exercise their right to purchase it, or even exercise...
Maybe we give it?
Well, they have the right to continue to use it. You know, so I'm not sure what the incentive is, but they might want to own it.
As a lease?
Pardon?
As a lease.
Yeah, it's a perpetual...
They can use it as a lease.
It's a perpetual lease.
To pay the city.
They don't pay the city anything.
We're not getting anything from it. We got that $90,000 up front, that's it.
And that's it.
The county entered into this agreement with the cell tower operator, and it was 3 payments of $30,000 each on 2008, 2009, 2010. The city got one of those 3 payments.
No,
because...
2.
2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, Phyllis? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the property was transferred to the city, and we got those 2 payments, but once those payments were made, that's it. And they don't owe anything more and they can hold that for as long as they want. So
Well,
we didn't enter into it, the county did.
That's interesting because they have it all isolated, fenced and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to remember that their only access to that property
They have an ingress egress easement as well.
through is Mybers.
Yeah.
Right.
So they,
So, Mr. Gerber wanting to purchase Mybers, that would just eliminate that, or put a hindrance in it, but I'd say it eliminated it myself.
well,
And plus we have utilities running up and down that
Right.
easement also, so yeah. Okay, that's, I can see,
Interesting.
they're maintaining it, they have, it's
Signs
all...
up, I went back there too and looked
Yeah,
at it.
it's all fenced in and stone. It's not
Mhm.
it's not a nuisance as far as appearance. So yeah.
so, at this time, the public hearing is also to give the general public an opportunity to make any comments for or against the possible sale. So if there's any comments, we'll be glad to take them.
All right.
If no comments, I would look for a motion to adjourn, is that it, or close the public
Close the
hearing?
public hearing.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to open the Board of Works meeting.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we're back in the public hearing, or in the Board of Works meeting, and if you would, Bill, make a recommendation or motion to make this a matter of record with the
The legal
recommendation
notice.
to the council.
Well, didn't we have a legal notice of the public hearing?
Uh-oh.
I don't think I do. And I have 20,000 pieces of paper, I don't.
Was it advertised for a public hearing?
I never got anything on this, on the casting side.
Well, at the last meeting, we scheduled a public hearing.
Do you remember, Bob?
That was for,
No, that's for...
That was for Hoosier Pattern.
17th, that's the Hoosier Pattern.
what did that public hearing we just had then not mean a darn?
Doesn't mean a thing.
Well,
I don't remember that in the minutes last time.
we can go ahead and duplicate it at the next meeting. But I mean, that's fine because I think
Go back and look. Did anyone
we're all
bring
in
that?
agreement of what we want to do. So.
I do not. I have them on my phone.
Yeah, a public hearing has to be advertised.
Exactly.
So, we're going to have to hold a public hearing with the Board of Works at the next meeting then, and then in August, the council.
6:19 minutes, Board of Works. I'll open up here in a second.
Yeah.
Good look. You can read that, make it a little bigger, however. Okay, well, regardless, we're not going to make a recommendation to council this evening on that, and we'll just move on to the next item.
And just make sure we reschedule it for the
17th.
17th of July.
Mhm.
Does that give you enough
We're
time
gonna-
to
well, yeah,
advertise,
we're gonna have
Phyllis?
to get it in first thing Thursday. Do you have the public hearing notice prepared?
No?
Then we never could have done it, because I wouldn't have created one.
I mean, if I need to do I don't know that I've ever done the notices for public hearings.
They usually do that, don't you?
Not on this, something like that, I didn't.
Is it in
Well,
there?
this is unique, so I guess we just go from there, just,
Yeah, the Board of Works has to have a public hearing.
yeah.
I thought it was discussed at the last meeting, we scheduled it.
Mayor Meyer, 2 phases for the former Cassie site, interested showing location. Need to cell tower, public hearing, both Board of Works and Howard City Council. Negotiate motion to hold public hearing July 3rd, discussion.
She's just
She's
reading
reading
it.
them.
It's in the minutes.
That's it.
We just didn't advertise it. We'll do it next time.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's just too make things.
Yeah.
Right, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, so are we Xing this all out, or what?
Well,
How do we want to do this?
you can just show that because the public hearing was not advertised, so we're going to have to hold a public hearing once that's done. So no recommendation will be made tonight.
Okay, we'll move the next thing on the agenda to being, Mike Hendricks is here from American Structure Point and with Kevin to discuss the asset management software and capital improvement plan. Did you have any chance to review that all?
Yeah?
This is the original.
This is the original, and this 2 copies? I have one. How you doing, Mike?
Doing fine, how are you?
Good, thanks for taking the time to come this evening.
My pleasure.
If you want to go ahead and just kind of brief us on what we have here.
As we've been working with the wastewater utility during the clarifiers project, I had discussions with Ann on asset management and their computerized maintenance management system. In our discussions, she requested that we put a proposal together to help find software, help them with getting that procured, and then we would have some time to help with any building of this program. So we put this proposal together. It's broken up into 5 different tasks. With the first task, us looking at reviewing software based on the needs of the utilities. As we've worked through this, Kevin wanted to make it inclusive for both water and wastewater, so they could use the same software package. So we'll start with meeting with them, what are their goals, and that's how we will be looking at software. We will do an evaluation, review that with the utilities, and then schedule the top 2 software packages to do demonstrations with Decatur staff, and then we would assist in just getting everything to get it finalized. Task 2, we would have this task depending on the need. If there's any need or assistance needed for implementing the software, we would be there to help as an on-call. Task 3, this is where you get into condition assessment, looking at projecting current assets value plus looking at replacement costs, start building the capital improvement plan, and then also working with not only utility staff but the administration to develop a level of service that Decatur, this is where we want to work at, and B, we need to be at this level. So that we can take that analysis and put that on and apply that to the capital improvement plan on the hierarchy. They have some televising video. We were requested to have a task where we could look at the report and the segments that were damaged and develop a repair program for the sewer that is televised. We also have put in here where we would work with the utilities to develop a request for proposal that the city could put out every year or every 3 years, depending on how you want to structure the contracts with a televising company, so that way you get your reports are coming back and everything's being reviewed the same way year after year. And then the 5th task is taking all this information and then putting a 5 to 10 year capital improvement plan together, working with Kevin and the utilities financial firm, and building that to where it's actually budgeted, so you can see how that is affected over the life of the program. So the whole contract, it's an hourly. There's a lot of pieces where we're here to assist, so it depends how much we're needed. So it's an hourly not to exceed contract versus having it just lump sum. So if we're not needed as much in areas, that money would not be billed or expended.
Get more than one quote?
Well, it's an engineering firm, architect engineering, so you wouldn't necessarily, professional services, you don't have to, you can.
Did you hear that? How long would this whole procedure take?
It kind of depends. I think a lot of it, the not to exceed is 110, 250, 110,000.
Yeah, I saw that.
So a lot of it depends on the legwork that we do. So if we're, basically, the way I understand it, they could help us find the software, help us implement it, and then that'd be it. So it's all based on how much work we do. I think we included all this stuff, just so that way, if there comes a point where we can't manage something, then they can help out. So, like I said, a lot of it depends on the longest portion will be getting everything into the software, every maintenance task, everything out of the plant and maintained, just to get it all in one system will be the longest part. So it all depends on how hard we work at it, basically. It'll take some time. Yeah.
Can you tell me in a layman's term, what's the benefits? I mean, this may sound, what are we trying to accomplish by doing this?
We first contracted.
The meeting, ICAM is requiring wastewater plants to have maintenance software to schedule future maintenance and record past maintenance. So this kind of started the ball rolling for this.
So it's a state mandated item declaration.
Some is, just recently, effective this month, any permit modifications, so not a renewal, but if you're doing something where you're modifying, you're increasing capacity or changing any treatment process, you're required now to have an asset management program for the utility. If you want to do any SRF funding, you're required to have an asset management plan in place.
Kind of like roads and streets with NDOT.
So they've done that, they've now applied that to the utilities. One thing an asset management plan does in the long term for the community, you're getting the most, you've got a system where you're trying to get the most value out of all your assets and replacing it before you're putting too much money into an asset that's not getting that return. So helping you define when you need to replace, when you need to repair.
Well, to me, part of the tasks that are identified would also allow for us to draw upon Ann and Berlin's knowledge in terms of what's out there, what needs to be done, because Ann's not going to be around forever, Berlin's not going to be around forever, none of us are going to be around forever, so this is laying the groundwork for somebody who follows to know what needs to be done when.
Exactly. And that's why we included water with this too, because we're in the same boat on the water side. You guys have been around a long time. Not a lot of knowledge. It'd be nice to get it down on paper before.
So somebody that steps in to take over Ann and Berlin's job, for example, or Ann, then Berlin, will have the expertise with the software and with everything.
They'd have it all at their fingertips. It would all, gets it all organized.
Okay.
And puts that plan,
So-
that roadmap is there.
So right now it is not.
It's scattered.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there, but it's not all combined into one cohesive place.
Like the maintenance part, every piece of equipment at the plant, out in the collection system would be listed in some fashion. We have maybe 80 pumps just at the plant. we have, I don't know, 15 link blowers, you know, it's all going to be contained in the software.
I agree with you, Ann. I've been out there a few times, and to me, the whole thing is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember years ago when I first went on the Board of Works, I told Mr. Schultz, I said, you have to watch that area out there, because that area, if Ann or Berlin walked away, I don't know how you take care of it. I mean, so yeah, so this, I can see where Item comes in and does something like this, because I'm sure there's a lot of utility companies that just run off the seat of their pants and just run by so-called knowledge, so.
This is kind of like Star Trek when somebody's being beamed up and the molecules are floating all around and they eventually get them all together. Well, this is
Taking all those molecules and putting them together.
It's got It's a question we can ask here. Where was that at, or Phyllis, was that?
I was just wondering, will you guys have enough staff to enter all the data into
Probably
Or
entering
structure
the
for it.
data. There's, I think, maybe some field work in the collection system that we probably don't have enough staff to do.
I just don't know how much work that is on the
It'll be
assets on the
it's quite a bit. It'll be a
side.
lot of screen time.
Yeah.
It's extensive from past experience of implementing
Is
So-
stuff done with, as far as the items entered in the software to have clamp to it?
Yeah.
So is that where you step in,
We know
Mike?
what they're,
Where they would need assistance, we would have,
You'd have somebody come in and load the software and whatever, or?
the software getting that loaded is going to be with the software company.
Okay,
That's not ours. We would be here to assist if there's some field work that they're needing assistance with in the collection system. We would have people available that could come and help with some of that. I don't think you're going to want us to pay us for data entry.
I understand that, yeah.
So-
advise how to mark.
Yeah.
not
We'll help
departmentalize
keep everything,
how to break
Yeah.
down each section, how to list them, where to put, you know, it's good. I expect it to be complicated software
it's,
that will need advice.
it
And
is,
software people are the trainers.
yes, they'll be providing, yeah, that'll be one of the things, is the amount of training that we would be looking at during the evaluation phase, making sure they have that, what their resources are to the utility, to make sure they're there to help them through. But, you know, the big thing is helping, using our experience and my experience from implementing a management system like this, to help keep you from jumping in. And we always learn from the pitfalls we get into. So I've been down the road with a management system, and so we can provide assistance in that initial setup phase, and then really turn it over to the staff, and then they can just start putting everything together and entering it all in.
And I think they're comfortable with working with you,
Mhm.
and I think that's important. So,
Will
yeah.
you be able to use what Kevin has in his old software? Will that transfer over?
What's that?
Your old software? Can you
As
get that
far
in
as,
your outfit?
oh, as far as
Yeah.
that's kind of a different animal there.
I just wondered if
Yeah.
I was capable of doing that.
Yeah, that's more of a... But we could definitely, be able to download, and if we can get into Excel,
That would be a
fixed
special
assets, that's got all your equipment.
Yeah.
So that's majority of your
I have those
equipment.
reports of everything that's in that
So,
dinosaur, so.
so anything we can get out and get into it, you get it into Excel, you can get it into the database.
With Ann retiring in October, and Verlin only a few years away, it's really probably essential that we enter into something like this. Now, Ann, you retire in October, but if we need you, you're gonna...
I kind of figured something like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can do data entry for us.
Couple things,
Part-time.
couple questions that I had about the terms of the contract. And this is a minor thing, but the very first sentence, I think the word plan should be plans, because otherwise there's no verb in the sentence. Second thing is with regard to the term of the contract, it's kind of open-ended. There's no date for performance. But I did notice that there's a provision that says that the rates to be charged are good for 1 year. So, you know, what happens if we don't get to some of the tasks until second or third year? Are we charging at the same rate through the term or the duration of performance of the task, or is that going to be increased?
I believe it would still require us to, if we wanted to change our rates, I think we'd still need to be coming back here and get your approval to change the rates.
But what if you come back and say we're going to increase our rates and we say no?
Well, we'll keep the old rates.
Because in your letter, it says, the very last paragraph, it says the fees and rates for services contained in this proposal are valid for 1 year from the date of this proposal. And I don't know, you know, maybe these tasks will be performed within a year. It may not be, which I'm guessing it won't be. So that's a question, and if we're going to lock in the rates and agree to have American Structure Point perform the services, you know, from the city's perspective, it'd probably be preferable that we have something that says these rates are good through the performance of these tasks.
I might be off base here, but when I read that, I took it that the proposal was good for a year. And so if we push this off to the side for a year, then wanted to sign it a year from now, I would say, well, we got to rethink our ink a little bit.
So if we want to think about it for 9 months, it's still good.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's what
I kind of did too when I saw the proposal. But it does say the fees and...
It says the fees and rate, the way it's worded is the fees and rates for services contained in this proposal are valid for 1 year. So at the end of 1 year, those are no longer necessarily valid fees and rates.
Something you can look into, Mike.
Or it should read if they're good until the plan or plans are completed.
Well, in fairness to American Structure Point, you know, are we going to hold them to rates in 2018 and we may not be doing the task until 2021? So somehow that needs to be adjusted. I don't know how you want to word that, but that's just something I noticed.
So Kevin, I mean, we don't need to make any decision tonight. You just want to kind of go over this with us and then...
We don't need nothing necessarily tonight, but sooner the better.
Yep, and Mike, you can go back and you can follow up on your end with some, you have other questions here, Tim?
Well, yeah, and under general consideration, it says you're required to perform the tasks using the care and skill ordinarily used by members within the profession of performing those, but that there are no warranties in connection with any services. Again, I just point that out because that may not be something that the city necessarily wants to agree to. In paragraph F, it talks about that the American Structure Point has ownership and property interests of documents that are produced as a result of performing the task, and that the city has a limited license to use those. Again, that's may not be an issue, but it could be if we have a falling out with American Structure Point at some point, because we may not be able to use what we've developed utilizing some other engineering firm. Paragraph J talks about mediation, which I'm fine with. I would just probably want that pursuant to the Indiana rules of civil mediation, and clarify that. K would be the state of Indiana, because the project is located here, the work tasks are going to be performed here. I didn't have exhibits A, B, C, or the appendix in what I got from Kevin, but I see that's attached on the contract itself, so that's fine. I just had a question about that. There are just some general comments that I had, so, you know, and I think the scope of the work is probably something that is appropriate. I'd like to see some of the language changed a little bit.
Make note of all that, Mike?
I was going to say, Mike and Kevin, you know kind of what Tim's referring to?
Yep.
Okay.
The only other question I had is on the payment of claims. It says that expenses are to be paid within 30 days after receipt of the invoice, so I guess that's a question for Phyllis more than, does that give us enough time?
Right.
In paragraph 201A, where it talks about invoices,
Get on the short form then.
it talks about payments to be made within 30 days after receipt of the invoice.
That's
So
fine.
that work? Okay.
Okay.
As far as that civil mediation, you want to say anything with the Cosins?
And Kevin, how are these fees going to be paid? I mean, how do we build this into our wastewater and our utilities? Is this a
Just an operating fund.
operating fund
Yeah.
that will be incorporated in when we do reviews on payments and review on utilities? Okay.
Okay. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think we all agree with that. And a little fine tuning on the wording. And maybe invite you back here in a few weeks or so. Our next meeting's not for 3 weeks. So first weekend in, no, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah.
This is a 5 Tuesday month again. I was
Yeah.
getting a little crazy. Yeah. So, but maybe first meeting in August or something or other, we can finalize something here. If not sooner,
We
if
should
you
be able
want.
to have this turned around by the next meeting.
Okay, all right, well, that's fine. Kevin, you got any questions, or Ann?
Nope.
Carrie, you got any questions back there? All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
You need me up here still for the rest of my show?
But you do.
Well, what all we got here? The water plant project.
Okay, thanks. What's that?
What else you got?
As far as with Midwestern and the water plant, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I was talking with Mark Sullivan from Midwestern, so we're getting to the point where we could either start putting the project out to bid, or if we're in guaranteed savings contract route, he could start getting the request for qualifications around to send packs out to the 4 major players who can do the guaranteed savings contract. So I know personally, I'm a fan of the
Guaranteed
guaranteed savings, but we've only been doing it now for a few months with COSIN. It's nice to get a, kind of pick who you would like to
Are the players for,
same one.
it's the same ones again? So we could wind up with Kokosing again
Good,
for
yeah.
that? Good.
COSIN, Kingman, Bowen, and there's one other. But it's nice being able to pick off of qualifications rather than low bid,
Mm-hmm.
especially with a big project like this. When you get a guaranteed maximum price and you know where you're at from the beginning of the project.
Did Martin give you any push one way or the other?
It's up to the city, but he's had good success with it. And I've talked to a few other places that have done it, and we went and visited some water plants when we first started this process, and they were fans of it as well, so. And so far with the clarifier, everything's went pretty smooth. We're not that far into it,
Right.
round or anything, but it is nice rather than low bid. You don't know who you might get. And Bill, I don't know if Bill's here.
Who?
I know there was issues with the Monroe Street plant when that was rehabbed. One of the contractors that came in and did some of the work there, they ended up having to redo a bunch of things after they left, replumb and stuff like that. So I know he's leaning that way too, but I just wanted to, get your comments or blessing saying which way you'd rather go or which way you're going to leave it up to us. Or
Council, have you heard all these comments here about the water plant, how to move forward? Do we want to do it by way of a bid, or do we want to go with a guaranteed saving type contract like we did with the water plant clarifier project? For the benefit of maybe Scott, at least, maybe tell a little bit about the guaranteed savings and how that works.
with the guaranteed savings, you basically, instead of putting a bid pack out and having anybody can send anything in, there's only 4 companies in the state of Indiana, I believe, that are qualified to do these guaranteed savings contracts. So what basically you do is you send out a request for qualifications, not a bid price. And so they send back their qualifications, their references, what all projects they've done, and then it'd be myself, Bill, probably Jeremy, Don, would grade these qualifications, grade companies based off their qualifications rather than the lowest price. And then what they do is, whichever company we pick, they come in, help in the design process. They get in a lot sooner in the design process, so they can help us get with the engineering company and sort of cut out some things that we may not need, maybe take it a little bit different direction than an engineering company would go based off of experience. So, and then they give you a maximum price. So that's the price you'll pay maximum. And then if there's any savings along the way, that money just comes back to the city, or you can reinvest into another project that's associated with the water plant or running new water lines or anything like that. So that's the gist of it.
Jeremy's shaking his head back there. You got a comment?
It's really the right way to do it. I've talked with Mark Sullivan quite a bit over the last 3 or 4 years on this project. And even meeting with other communities and conferences, you're seeing a lot of the water plants, wastewater plants going through something like this for a lot of different reasons. Kevin and I talked about this. I totally
Support it.
this direction.
And it worked out well with the clarifier.
So
So far.
good, yeah. Like I said, we're not very far along.
Right, and that's kind of the thing that was recommended by the engineering company to do.
Yeah, and American Structure Point,
American
same way
Structure
they brought it up too for,
Well, if you put it out to bid,
Yep.
the old-fashioned way, like you said, anyone could do this. If you go with the guaranteed savings, you know it's going to be one of 4 companies,
yeah.
which it might not even been one of them if you put it out to bid, right? It
Yeah,
could be-
yeah, it could be. It's really
So,
close.
and you know that these 4 companies are qualified to build them. I mean, that's what they do.
They can give you change order to get that price back up after they get the low bid, so.
That should be done on more city projects. I mean, truthfully,
Guaranteed savings, yeah.
we've encountered a lot of do-overs with the sanitary and storm separation, for example. I mean,
And it continues.
Exactly.
It's continuing.
And you get the people in the low bidder, and it's like the astronaut that they asked him how he felt, and he said, I feel kind of shaky because I'm going up on the low bidder. And the low bidder is kicking him up in space, and it's kind of it was a clever statement of his, but I'm not always in favor of low bidders. So yeah.
And if that's the way that we're going to go, we can start that process here soon, and then whoever company we pick can jump in a lot sooner in the design process.
Is this strictly a Board of Works decision, Tim?
Typically, yeah.
Yeah? I'm leaning, I favor the, pardon?
At least, I don't know that we need an actual decision tonight, but something to give to Mark to tell him to start getting RFQs around so we can start that process. 'Cause they're plugging along pretty good with the design.
I would make a motion to recommend that we go that way and start the ball rolling anyway.
Does council have any questions?
Sounds like the way to go.
Nope, sounds good.
I'll second your motion. All in favor?
Aye.
So there you go, Kevin. Go ahead and proceed with Mark to work up the RFQs and go that route.
Okay.
Thanks.
Am I done?
I think so for now. If we need you, I'll holler.
Actually, gotta do one more thing.
Yeah? Kind of hogging the show here.
Board of Works needs to, these are new forms that we're doing over
Oh, yeah.
there. Board of Works needs to approve this form.
And we'll discuss this at the council meeting, too.
Okay.
Yeah. Midwestern engineers.
Thank you. This is just an application that we're gonna have starting as soon as possible. Anybody that wants, utilities in their name will have to come in, fill out this application, sign it, show ID, rather than just calling on the phone to get it set up. So that's basically what that first one is. And then this was kind of in tune with the whole property owner and landlord issues, so that way, landlords can have this copy as well.
Two guys are here.
And when they sign leases, they can sign it,
I'm not on
and the tenant can bring it in for us to approve them, to get the utilities in their name. So I just need Board of Works approval to start using this form, I believe. The second one, which we'll talk about later too as well, but that's now what we'll have property owners and landlords sign, allowing the tenants to have the utilities in their name.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
At the council meeting. Yeah.
We can talk about it now.
Closer to go?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Good.
We're about that.
Now, what is this, a Board of Works recommendation to present it at council, or is this?
No,
a Board of
we're
Works?
just going to present it at
Just to
council.
approve this form that we can start using this now.
Okay.
Both of them? One, two.
The utilities application.
There's two different forms here. This one.
Yeah, I know, I was reapproving both.
Well, I think Bill needs a chance to look at it beforehand, so we can do that.
That's fine, we don't have to implement it.
Yeah,
So-
we're not going to do anything tonight. We're just going to have discussion, and Bill, you can review this, and all of you
Fine.
review these forms, especially the long written part on this back page here. If you have any questions, let me or Kevin know.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the landlords wanted this.
Draft of the utility.
There you go.
Did you see the draft of the utility bill? Or inside that?
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that with you?
Yeah,
Well,
this.
they don't want to do nothing, but,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll discuss it at the
what's that?
council meeting.
Somebody to pay.
I understand that,
Yep,
Matt,
yep.
but it started out as a simple task,
Yep,
but it worked into this,
several months later,
okay? So, I said they
$30,000 of
wanted us,
software later.
they wanted us to go into detail and make sure that they are aware of what was going on with their own business. So we're going to help them out.
Mhm. Okay, going to move on here. Next, I have a couple gentlemen here from the American Legion. I got a Phil brought me down. Yeah, you can come on up. This is Phil Geimer and Gary Murdoch, right?
Yes, sir.
Get right? Yeah. Gary's the senior commander at the Legion. I'll just read this letter aloud, and department heads, you might listen to this too. As recently installed into the office of commander and leader of the local American Legion post, it was brought to my attention that the city potentially offered to pay us for overflow parking once the events begin in the new Artisan Market area. As we continue in rebuilding our post and supporting the local community groups as much as possible, I'd like to offer up the proposal of this. As a partial eyesore in the public eyes in respect to our parking lot, I would like to propose that the city pay for a good resealing or potentially repavement of the parking lot. In turn for this service of resealing or potentially repaving of the parking lot, we, the American Legion, in good faith, would not require any payment for overflow parking. Of course, if we would be doing an event, we would not be able to potentially allow any vehicles parking there, but we would ensure as well to do our best to ensure our events would not interfere with any event that may be taking place on the new Artisan Market Plaza. We're going to reach out to the county's high school art department to offer them do some sort of patriotic paintings on 3 of our windows facing the Artisan Market, and there for helping to beautify the area of the market, as well as installing 4 to 5 benches along the area, as we obviously are looking to putting some sort of foliage between them, such as the big flower pots or some sort of small trees in between. I'm assuming you mean the area between the building, yeah, where we pulled out the shrubs. As we, the American Legion, need assistance here and there with such bigger items of paving the lot. If this proposal is something that may be interest the great city of Decatur and its leadership, please let me know, and I will ensure I am available for a meeting one evening. And this is what Phil gave me. And we sat and discussed a little bit out in the lobby one day, and then since then, thinking about it, and I talked to Phil again as a follow-up, the plaza is the city's, but the events that go there aren't generally put on by the city. They're put on by outside entities like the Chamber or Main Street and whatever. So in asking the city to reseal or repave the parking lot for overflow parking, it's not overflow parking for a city event, it's for a community event being sponsored by outside entities. I don't know if this is something that the city would want to enter into or not. Bill, you got any comments here on this here?
Well, no, other than just what you said, this is not a city, the city put out the plaza, or was instrumental in getting the plaza done, along with other entities that helped, but when the events are scheduled and when the events are going on, they are not so-called city events. So I don't know how you could, I appreciate your offer and your thoughts on overflow parking.
Okay, but there's another side to this yet that Kenny and I did discuss a little bit, and that's delivery trucks. Because of the businesses from Madison Street south, on that side of the street, they don't have access for trucking in behind. And they were told by somebody that they could use our parking lot to unload.
Well, that's what we need to know, who that somebody is, because I don't think anybody
I don't know either, but
said any such thing.
So they think they can.
The only conversation I know is that alley would be accessible to them for unloading. But
from Jefferson Street.
Well, I've been working over there, and I've been watching what's going on this past 2 weeks. The only thing I've seen was the FedEx truck that would back in, or a delivery truck for the Democrat was back in there. Anything else was either out on First Street, or, I seriously don't know why we can't do something on Second Street. I mentioned one area to you, but somebody else had mentioned that the sheriff's got the right-of-way in front of the courthouse that's hardly ever used. Maybe that could be an area where they could offload. I don't know. it's something that just need to kind of kick around and find out what's going to work for these people.
It's the people on Second Street who are needing to have things delivered, and the trucks can't get to them. That's your.
And it's mainly those people right there in that area.
Well,
Because they used to have deliveries going down Madison Street, the truck would park there and even come around this way and go, because I remember seeing that happen. But,
Is there a problem with using that alley? Is that,
well, you can't, if you go down driving it, you can't hardly back out, and if you got a big truck, that's pretty tight.
and
they can't back into the alley.
I would say this, as a CDL holder, and dealing with semis and trailers every day and stuff, anything over an F-550 is going to have a real hard time to get down that alley, period, because of the narrowness of it. The east-west alley, in between the Legion and Mia Salon there, has a big sinkhole starting by one of the phone poles, and it's starting to spread more and more. So that's something that needs to be looked at as well before it becomes a real safety issue for the city.
Sure.
long term, where the Schaefer factory was, there'll be a parking lot there. And I don't know if that could be a area that they pull in. I don't know how full that will be with public cars. Part of it's going to be for the tenants of the lofts. But I mean, I think that these are problems that we're going to face with having the plaza closed, and we'll have to address them. I mean, if it means, I'm trying to think who on 2nd Street gets deliveries by semi, though.
Well, there's, two lawyers' offices, one lawyer's office, and
That's probably
They got the Hope Chest,
there's
that dental place,
And then Andy's.
Prestige Really,
And Andy's.
Andy's.
I know, but this is what we've been hearing,
But I mean,
from,
From various people throughout the community, I've actually heard that, Mr. Mayor, you made that statement, is what I was told.
what statement's that?
That anybody making those deliveries could use the American Legion parking lot by the school.
I would never say that.
Such a thing without talking to us, but
No.
that's just a statement and rumors, but we all know how those get going.
Yeah.
and that's what I said to you earlier, there's no way in heck anybody wants us to get into a fishing match. We just want to try to find a way to make
Yep.
things work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want to work with the city. There's a lot of plans this year. I mean, last year, if you don't know, when myself, Fritz Boldemeyer, a couple others took over that Legion, it was ready to close. The doors were ready to shut. We've actually turned it around in about a year's time frame. We're still trying to do a lot of things. We recently held the Belmont History class that's going to Europe next year for the 75th D-Day anniversary. 4 brunches for them, and we want to start doing that for the community, getting some of these nonprofits org and getting their people involved with this and helping them fundraise as well. So that's some of the things we're looking at down the road here for this next year, and I want to get the Legion back involved with the community any which way we can to make it more presentable as it used to be years ago, because it has slumped. It has slumped hard, so.
Yeah, and I think that you're, just as I told Missy from Prestige Realty, I think that building the plaza has not hurt your property value in any way, shape, or form.
No,
If anything, it's increased it.
I would have concurred with that statement, yes, sir.
Yeah, and that, long term, if you guys continue to build the Legion back up, I think it'll be a place that the general public will come to eat and,
Well, and in general, I know Mr. Koshaw
yeah.
had come over a couple nights after the Thursday evening bands asking if, can we open it up to the public? By excise, we can only open to the public 7 days out of the month. And that's a recent change that took place, just for gaming and liquor licenses and so forth. And then any members that do come in out of the general public cannot sit at the bar itself. They're welcome to the tables and so forth like that and order their drinks. But for that to happen, then we also have to do it a month prior to coordinate, to make sure the events, we can open it to the public and we're staffed properly to help the public as well and serve them.
How many members do you have in the Legion?
The Legionnaires itself, last year we had 512 members.
How many regulars?
Regulars show up? No, we're lucky if we see maybe 25, 30 as a regular group.
Yeah, probably. On our open nights,
I know you're not the VFW, but how are their numbers?
well,
I won't speak on the VFW's behalf. That's a question to pose to them.
when we have different events going on, we'll have sometimes more people than others. It
varies. It does vary. It does vary by the event.
I think this whole thing is new. It's new to the city. The plaza's new. We still don't have all of the parking, for example, where the Schaefer building's set. That's going to be a parking lot. I think maybe we need to grow into this and see, you people come and look at it and say, you know, we're getting a lot of overflow parking in our lot. And, you know, it's not affecting us, only it affects us when we have something going on. And maybe kind of work into this instead of just anticipating that this may be a problem. You know, does that make sense?
I don't think it's an anticipation. With the few nice events that's taking place, we're getting a lot of general public parking in there.
But like I said, we don't have the Schaefer building parking lot up in place yet. And that could maybe take care of some of the overflow parking. People have a tendency of not wanting to walk also, you know, and there's quite a bit of parking around. I don't know. I see nothing wrong with you people putting signs up.
Well, we have signs.
They have signs up.
Legion parking only.
Don't you have to enter the lot and actually almost park before you see those? Is it at the entrance where they
They're
go in?
around the exits, around the post on the outer perimeters.
Yeah.
I'm on the, with the color guard, and when we have funerals, we'll have up to 25 guys show up to go to a funeral. Sometimes we split and we go two different ways. So when we come, 25 people have to park there in Grand. That's usually in the mornings, but we've had some in the afternoons. And we've had some right close to functions that we're having. So that, you never know when it's going to happen.
And you understand there's parking going on that don't go to the Legion, because I go to the Legion and I see people parking along that are not Legion members or don't use the Legion. You're aware of that.
That's what was raised up, you know, we kind of tossed that around in our executive board meeting, you know, as to what to do with the people that park there in general all the time, you know. So we're trying to figure that one out also, but what we're talking about is when we got events going, and like I said, the color guard will very seldom have one late in the day that might cross over into something. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of times 25 people show up with each have a vehicle, and then we get in some vehicles and go to this funeral home or that one, you know. So that.
And you're saying that the general public may be parked there, and you guys might have anywhere to
we got
park?
to either park over there or something, but you know, we're here for a function, and I'm just throwing that out there because that's an instance that don't happen often, but it does.
Phil, what kind of trucks do you have coming in for deliveries to the Legion itself? Are they relatively small trucks, or?
It's a beer truck you see that pulls over here by Two Brothers, you know, along the street and sits there, same size. It pulls in our lot. We get those, a couple of those, almost a week.
And he could stop on First Street, though. He didn't have to pull in your lot, right?
They could, but what they do is they pull in the lot and they make a circle so that they can head out, and then they unload and go in the back door because that's where the ramp is.
Is it, I'm just thinking, is it possible that if some businesses on Madison or near Madison wanted to pay you for an ingress-egress easement for deliveries, could they do that?
Commander?
That's something that we have to talk about at the board meeting. We just can't make that decision. It has to be brought before the board and voted upon to allow such things to happen. Honestly, it's no different than anything that you guys sit here and do on your board meeting. You talk about it, debate it, vote on it, and move on.
I think one of the good things about that is most deliveries are made in the morning.
For the most part, yes, sir.
And they won't really affect the Legion a lot.
Currently, that is correct.
Other than the color guard when you have a funeral.
Well, that, and when we actually get staff back up over there to start serving the lunches again at noon and so forth.
Right.
You know, it just seems to me that if you targeted a window that where you generally don't have much parking there already, perhaps some of the business would be willing to pay a small amount, which would generate some income for you, that would also accommodate them in terms of meeting their needs for deliveries.
Yeah, and I guess I would ask that going forward, if trucks pull in there to unload, find out who they're unloading for. I'd like to know, you know, because it doesn't make sense to me other than...
I've noticed that because of all the construction going on, Alco's truck delivering to Vinny's has been sitting on First Street and just carved it up. Easier, they're out of the way.
I guess from a legal perspective, what you're proposing would have to be done kind of in a similar way that what we did with on the tax credit financing, where basically it's a loan that turns into a grant. And, you know, the grant would be that certain conditions would be met, but that's probably the only way public funds could be used on a private property. But there's a mechanism that you could do it, but there are steps legally that you'd have to go through in order to do so.
Okay, well, I think for now, if you can kind of keep an eye on, and the general public, you know, maybe you call the police, have them towed. Is that your sign say that you'd have them towed? You know,
It does.
by the time you tell a couple people the word to get out that you don't park there.
Yeah, but you don't want to do that when you're trying to get it back into the community either. You've got to walk gingerly.
There's a
like
fine
piece of
line,
rice paper.
a fine line
Yes,
there,
sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
You had
It's very
mentioned to
fine.
me that the St. Mary's parking lot has a sign. I looked at it, and it does have a city ordinance number.
Yeah,
Would that be better?
but that's not private parking.
Correct. That's not.
That's not private parking.
Okay, so that doesn't apply then to us? Okay.
Yeah, that, they have one, Methodists have one, those are around. Yeah, that's just for somebody who wants to pull in there and park and stay. If they want to do that, they can go to the chamber lot, they can park a semi there and keep it there overnight kind of thing, but that's what that's protecting.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we just pass an ordinance for the chiropractor? I don't know what that did.
That's after business hours, people would park there.
Okay.
No, we didn't.
There's a chiropractor down on 11th Street, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Across the school home,
Yeah. Melissa?
back there.
Have you guys considered charging for parking on Thursday? I would think that if you set out that
Event parking.
proceeds go to the Legion, I would think people would definitely pay to park close. And if that's something you decided, we could definitely promote as part of our Thursday nights or any events.
Good idea.
Say, hey,
We had talked about that, and
$3 or $5 to park at the Legion, but
Yeah.
it's close, that, would that be an option to try?
That's an option to try, but I think from a legality standpoint, once again, would excise consider that being on our lot, visitors inside the club and stuff, then, you know, the real fine lines, you really gotta walking really fine and make sure that you got it all covered, of
Right.
course.
Yeah, that's, and I don't know the legalities about that either, but just trying to think of some other ways to
No, and I
make
appreciate
the
it.
parking
Yeah.
work.
I want to get it working as well. I know I took last Thursday off, and I pulled in that parking lot, and there's like 40 cars there. The only ones working there is Rick. So I'm just saying, it does happen quite a bit during the day, and I don't know if it's the business folks that's around us doing it. I know I've talked to Mia Salon a couple times over there, and I don't get a chance to get in town much during the week, so.
Well, they've encountered a little problem with the putting new sidewalks in.
And that's when I told Mia, I'm
Yeah, I
not too
think
concerned
they-
about them.
I think they filled that whole back row up.
Yeah,
I mean,
they typically have 4 to 5 vehicles sitting there,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. It's just neighborly things to do.
And you got some people, some businesses on Second Street
And that's the ones I'm concerned about.
that'll
They're
park,
the ones utilizing
that'll park
it,
at the
and them
end.
couple apartments that's there and stuff. I think
Exactly.
They're using it. I piled dirt up there one day because we're trying to dig out that front to pour concrete and stuff, and you can see somebody's been running through it already. They don't care. I thought a pile of dirt would maybe sidetrack that a little bit, but that didn't stop nothing.
Well, let's just give it some more time. The likelihood of us paving or sealing it is probably minimal, but we still would want to work with you, you know.
We want to work through like
Yeah,
that,
sure.
and make things work for everybody
So-
around here as it should.
And you can look into the paid parking for events. I think that's really a pretty good idea, if it's legal. It's a good idea. And maybe we,
Pay $5 to park there.
Yep.
On Thursday.
yeah, I think so.
I don't say they're lazy, they just like the...
Yeah, and I
Or if you want to run to your car, it's right there, you know.
Yeah.
Run, get something out
We'd
of it.
have to have a sticker on the car or some kind of a thing to hang on the mirror or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
so we know which ones are paying, which ones aren't.
Well, you just have a guy out there taking money, people pulling in, event parking.
We can't get volunteers to
Yeah.
do half the stuff we need, so I'm gonna get them out there.
Mayor's volunteering to come down and do it for us.
Well, we appreciate, you listening to us. and
Sure.
stuff. This is just the first step in trying to figure out what to do. We didn't know where else to go,
Mm-hmm,
and most of the answers can be answered right here.
yep,
Exactly, and that's the proper way to do it.
yep.
And like I said, this is gonna be a learning curve, this whole process, and at a later date, we may say, this is how we could remedy this.
And Craig's not here to vouch for this, but I'm relatively sure as a few months ago, when council decided to keep the plaza closed and not have it open as a street, Melissa, am I right? Craig went around to all the businesses on there. He talked to Fritz, I believe it was, when he was still in charge, about, is it okay at the Legion if we close this as a street? And to a T, I mean, everyone he approached, they were okay with it, so.
One side note then, for Keishal, since he's not here, we had one of our members over there donated some pulled pork that we was gonna warm up and have in sandwiches. I don't know if anybody's gonna have that, but we plan on having that this Thursday if rain doesn't rain us out.
You have to go through the chamber.
Yeah, Craig is in the chamber of the people who...
You just don't set up, you have to...
So,
So I just have to let them know.
yeah, let them
Did
know.
you give
let
Linda
them know how to
Morris-
Set up a table and...
Yeah,
Linda Morris is who you would talk with.
Okay.
the chamber, yep.
Okay.
Again, that's like I said, it's not the city
It's not-
function,
well,
it's a chamber
He
function.
was gonna be here, I was just
Yeah,
gonna make it
yeah,
him,
yeah. All right, well, listen, I got about 5 or 6 more things on the agenda, and we're running out of time, so.
Thank y'all.
Thank you guys, yeah.
Thank you.
Clarification and stuff.
Okay, I'm going to move through these next few things pretty quickly here. The first thing is from Primco, the people doing our plaza, due to suppliers for the park benches and the electrical cabinet not meeting their quoted delivery time to our subcontractors, they are requesting that the completion date be moved back to July 18th on the plaza. There's no lights down there, that's because the electrical panel isn't here. 5 of the 8 benches are here, and the trash cans aren't here. So they're all in order, they're all in back order, so Rick is just asking that we extend their deadline until July 18th. Bill, you okay with that?
Very
You got a
good,
motion?
Very good, yeah. Sure, make that a motion.
I'll second that motion. Any comments from anyone before the Board of Works votes on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. We got those white plastic buckets down there.
I've seen some of that stuff right out of the ground, 10 feet away from the trash.
Yeah, that's true.
Right in the bottom.
Yep.
Kurt and Melissa and somebody,
Dawn.
I said, oh, yeah, Don, have been looking into getting some software for this room so that we might start utilizing the televisions more frequently. And they had a meeting with Innovative Concepts. Basically, they'd be able to operate those TVs from back there. It would be all Bluetooth, and all the department heads seem to think that it's going to be well worth it, and that they're going to increase our experience as people sitting up here. And they want to buy this from Innovative Concepts and have it installed. It's $832.24. Phyllis is in favor of it and said she would pay for it out of CCI funds. So it's a Board of Works thing. Bill, you good with that?
Make a motion to accept that.
Thank you. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Kurt, preventive maintenance with Felgerhart. This is one of those things where Tim may say we need to take it to bid, but we're not going to, because this is the company that installed our furnaces and air conditioning units.
Yeah,
And one way or another, we need to stay with them.
Basically, a year ago, they took over, we signed a maintenance agreement with them. They came in and assessed the system that they knew nothing about, found the problems with it and fixed it.
Mhm.
When they did that, we signed a maintenance agreement. That was June 1st of 2017, and the cost for that was $1,797 a year. They come in 4 times a year, change out the filters, run diagnostics, make sure everything's working fine. With that, we started the project upstairs to remodel, and we had to add 3 more systems. Well, we had no service contracts for that, so I had Felgerhart do an all-in-one service contract for all 4 systems, since they installed the other 3 systems upstairs, and the price tag for that came in at $4,189.
So it's just a little over double what we were at. We were at $1,790.
And our ordinance, yeah, and that's for 4 systems now, not just
Yeah.
one. And ordinance 2013-14, I don't have it in front of me, but basically states anything over $2,500 we have to have a second bid for. I'm asking that you waive that, because they've designed the systems, they know the systems. To have somebody else come in here and put a bid in on it and then try to take over that on a system they haven't designed, I don't think...
Strongly
we should go
not in
that route.
favor of that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
And we can do that.
I think you have in the ordinance, there's provisions that you can waive it because of the unique nature of the
Right.
project and the services and trying to maintain consistency. So I think as long as you say for those reasons you're waiving that requirement to get a second
You
quote,
reviewed this real
I've
good?
reviewed it, yeah.
and based on Kurt's recommendation,
Exactly.
you're approving it.
It's made your job easier.
No,
And they're good people to work
they're
with.
good people, I call them, they're here within 24 hours,
Yeah.
they're on it.
So Bill, you want to make a motion that we go with the Felgerhart Preventive Maintenance Agreement?
Yep, sure will.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. that's-
One
go ahead,
thing
Tim.
that's kind of related to that, it may be an appropriate time to take a second look at that ordinance, to maybe revise that and bump up some of the minimum levels.
For things like that,
Yeah, because I think initially those were pretty tight parameters. You have a little more flexibility under the law, so you can make it more restrictive locally, but you can't be less restrictive if it's contrary to state law. So,
Is it time to sort of look at all of our purchasing agreements?
well, you can look at the purchasing ordinance in general,
Right.
and it may be appropriate to do that. I think Jeremy and Don have run into that
At least
couple
get
of
with the
times.
department heads.
And I know that we basically modeled ours after Bluffton back in the day, because, but I'll be glad to check with some other communities and see what they're doing, what their limits are, so yeah, I agree, Tim. Phyllis, we have 2 contract agreements with Washington Township to provide money to the Decatur Fire Department for fire equipment, and also for the city of Decatur to do improvements to Worthman Field, Safety Park, and the Survive Alive House. And we talked about this at the last meeting, didn't we? I believe? No, we did not?
No,
Okay.
at a previous meeting we did though.
Okay.
Jeff was here.
Yeah, the Washington Township Trustee's Office has excess monies. It can be spent, but it has to be spent within Washington Township, and Worthman Field and the Safety Village are both in that area. And what they want to do for the fire department and the city of Decatur, replace a roof, replace the roof on the Survive Alive house, replace the roof on the classroom, which is, I think, the old locker rooms. Improve and paint the classroom and Survive Alive house. Refurbish the village houses, 4 of them that need refurbished, and replace approximately 1,650 foot of fence surrounding the property. And all of that comes in at $25,000. They have to break it down into 2 contracts, though, right, Phyllis? Because one's for the fire, one's for the city.
Yeah, and actually on the fencing, the township's going to give us $25,000, but they're only going to give us $13,695 for the fence. And I believe, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, but is the park board helping with this, or no?
Because that's not, the $13,000 doesn't cover the whole fence, right?
No, it does not cover that fence.
Okay.
I don't know, is that city property or
Yeah, it is city now. It is city, you're right. No, I didn't know.
Work one way or another.
Okay, but for now, the township is going to give us that much money. It's like $2,050 for the classroom, $3,480 for the Survive Alive house, and improve, that's for the roof, and then $1,775 for painting, and then $4,000 is estimated for four villages, and then the $13,360 or $13,695 for the fencing, a total of $25,000.
So I think it's great.
That's one separate contract.
Yeah.
And then we have another contract, which is for the fire department, and that is $15,000, 2 full sets of firefighter protective clothing, 12 SCBA personal use mask, and 1 complete grain bin rescue package, and 1 ice rescue sled.
Did Corey offer any why they have so much excess money?
Yeah, they've cut the staff. They used to have 4 full-time staff, and they just have 2 part-time right now. And that's what they
So it's not something that we can expect every year, because it's just...
No, this is, I think, once he expends this, it'll probably be...
And everything's been, from Corey's end, checked at the state level and everything, and it's all good, we're all good to go, so it's great for the city.
He's checked with State Board of Accounts and Department of Local Government Finance, and he is allowed to do that. He will have a meeting with his board. They will not meet until July 18th for them to sign this contract, and then he has to advertise an official appropriation to expend the funds. So it'll probably be August before we get the money. So, but we need the Board of Works to approve these contracts and sign them.
So moved.
And I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. And proposal from Strand, or Don and Ann, both of them, I guess. Proposal from Strand Corporation for a contract to use their services on an as-needed basis for permit assistance. Does that sound right?
Technical assistance, I guess you could call it. We've had a contract since 2016. This is the signed, the ones that need to be signed, and then returned back to them. But we had, the initial contract was 2016. It was for $18,000 on an as-needed basis, and we're down to about $1,000 now. And I would like to renew that. Their services are so helpful. I've worked with Brandy now a few years, but stormwater has a need for this too then.
Our MS4 permit needs renewed, and she would help us with that too, so get the initial renewal done. So a portion of that would be from me.
In the past, she reviewed industry permits for us, inspection reports, DMRs with Dean Foods, updated emergency response plans, provided notice of violation letters, reviewed industry compliance, provided testing plans for local limits,
long is this for?
It's just, it's like open-ended, like...
Open-ended?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one,
When did we initially start the $18,000?
it was March 4th of 2016.
2016?
2-year extension to April 22nd of 2020.
It's just, okay.
2-year extension?
Well, I mean, you definitely need someone to review things for you like that.
Exactly.
It's very helpful, because,
Unless you want to have Tim do all that.
well, Tim reviewed one of the letters that she wrote for us for Dean Foods, and he said it was very good.
Yeah. Okay.
And poor Don needs help with the MS4, don't you, Bob?
Yeah, I haven't done a renewal on permits before, so.
And I've looked through that MS4 a long time ago, so yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much legal language required in a lot of these things that we have to do now that I'm sure Tim would rather somebody else do.
Bill, you want to make that motion?
So moved.
Make a motion from Bill to go with the Strand contract,
2-year extension.
2-year extension to the contract we have. And I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 2 things left. Phyllis, Seth Colwell, contract information. Lenny, you might want to chime in on this one.
Yeah, the copy can go to you, too.
They just said they were going to mail back copies.
Okay. All right.
Okay, before we get into Seth, update us on the latest on the possible candidate that we would be hiring.
Yes, he was scheduled to go to PERF July the 2nd. However, he had a trial, so we moved that to July the 9th. They worked with us on that, so Deputy Chief Mike Mahan will be taking him down to Indianapolis next Monday morning. Hopefully, we'll get a quick result within a couple weeks, I'm hoping. Then we'll get with him on a time frame on an official start date.
Okay, thanks. And then Seth Colwell, who was one of the last 3 officers that we hired.
Correct.
And he determined it wasn't for him and
Correct.
resigned.
Yes.
And Phyllis, you want to talk to
Yeah, this Board of Works signs a contract with the police officers for a 5-year contract. If they do not stay with the city for 5 years, then they have to reimburse any uniforms, the PERF examination, and any kind of training. So it came up to like $2,907.59. And Seth is requesting to make partial payments on this, and I just need, since you guys signed the contract with him, what you want to agree to.
I think absolutely we want to let him pay partial payments. You know, it's a learning experience for him, I guess, to enter into this.
So I guess I just need how long, how much, and so we can
What did we do with
write something up for him.
Officer McConnell when she left? Wasn't she
She
making
was,
payments like
yeah.
that? I think we want to
She's
get
making
good
payments, but she, yeah, that hasn't continued, but
She hasn't paid hers off.
I still do.
Is she making,
She
is she making payment?
She was, but I would have to look it up to put it in last time. So, so I just need some direction.
What is
on-
he requesting, Phyllis?
He never asked.
He
just
never asked?
if he could make a monthly payment.
And he didn't give a time frame or anything. No, we're just figured it come from.
That
was
was
just
just
your-
calculated to
Okay.
pay it off by the end of the year.
Okay. That may be a lot for a young man that age to take that on in addition to everything else he's got. Is he married?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe we give him a year. And you can break that down and if he wants to pay it off sooner, that's better.
We was able to take some of his equipment back to Brakeman's, even with the patches and sizes. Brakeman's been really good with us on that. And then we was able to salvage some of his equipment for the new guy, you know,
But this is
flashlight.
not, this is excluding all of that.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Bill, okay with you? Go give him a year?
I'd say.
Okay. I'll make that motion, Barb. Bill, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. And the last thing, which we may have to save for
Can
the
we,
next meeting.
can we address the Julie McConnell?
Yes.
Can we actually ask her to pay or
Phyllis can look into what she has paid back.
yeah,
And
maybe
we'll
we
see
do
what-
that,
what-
and we can
what
bring it up at the
balance
next
is.
meeting, but, I mean, there's no reason she can't pay that.
Mhm. Yeah, and she started to pay it, and why she would quit, I don't know. So,
I think she just, that's not a priority to her.
could be. I don't know. The only other thing I had on the agenda was the discussion on 9th Street as to whether or not to take parking off 9th Street, and we don't have time to discuss that, so we'll just table that till the next meeting. So with that takes care of everything, Bill.
Another thing, one more.
Nope, Phyllis has one more. Okay.
I had made a typo error on the fire contract when we originally signed it back in December 17, and Union Township returned their contract, but they didn't notice the change. So when they sent their payment, I just told them there was a typo error in there. So I made a little small notation at the bottom of the contract that the amount they owe is really the same they paid in June for December. So he wanted it in writing, and you guys to sign his contract again.
Okay.
So if you can do that, and then I'll send it back to him. That way his board knows he's not changed the amount on his own. It's our request.
Make a motion to approve that amendment?
Yep, so moved.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And then I just need both, two sign, one's for us and one's for the township.
You got anything else, Phyllis?
Do we need to make that a matter of record, or is it?
What is it?
Does that matter? You added that to that letter. It doesn't matter, because it's over with.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay, Bill, look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Board of Works is adjourned.